The terms of the Joint Plan of Action limits the amount of oil that Iran is allowed to export, and reports indicate that the regime has surpassed the 1 million barrels per day that it must average for the first 6 months. Why is Iran, according to reports, exceeding this cap, and are we going to ensure that over the remaining months it reduces its exports to meet the requirements of the JPOA? Also, what countries are receiving all of this Iranian oil? Rumor is that Iran is shipping hundreds of thousands of barrels of oil to Syria. Are we counting and monitoring this? Next, the natural gas discoveries off the coast of Israel are a potential game changer, not just for Israel, but for Greece and Cyprus too, who have played important roles in developing Eastern Mediterranean hydrocarbons, and they will continue to play vital roles in its distribution. Thanks to our good friends from Florida, Mr. Belarakis, and our ranking member, Mr. Deutsch, we in Congress have had many opportunities through their Congressional Hellenic Israel Alliance to discuss what this means for Israel, for Greece, for Cyprus, for their relationship, how this can help improve their economies and security going forward. But the discovery of these large natural gas fields has also led to the speculation that Lebanon may have similar resources off its shores, and that too would be a game changer for that crisis-ravaged nation. However, there is a dispute between Lebanon and Israel over their maritime borders, and it appears that it's at an impasse. Could you give us an update about where we stand on this? What is the administration doing to help resolve this, and what outstanding issues remain to be resolved? And then next, last month, this subcommittee held a hearing on the GCC about the deepening rifts, the emerging challenges, and one of the topics that came up was the possibility of friction between the U.S. and some of our Gulf partners because they believe or they perceive that we're moving away from our traditional relationships and leaving them alone and out to dry, especially as it relates to Iran. Has this energy boom in the United States impacted these traditional alliances that we have with states in the region, particularly the Gulf states? Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Let me take those one at a time. On Iran, and I'm glad you asked the question. And as you and your staffs are all aware, I come up here regularly on, in a classified forum to discuss specifically. So I'll stick to what I can say here in this format. Under the JPOA, the agreement that was signed, or that was the tenets of that agreement, were that Iranian exports will remain at current levels. And we have worked to make sure that that happens. As you know, based on the congressionally mandated sanctions that have been rigorously implemented over the last 2 years, Iran's exports were reduced by 50 to 60%. And the current levels that we saw when the time that we reached the JPOA were somewhere in the range of 1 million to 1.1 million barrels a day. It's very difficult to set hard numbers when it comes to oil. That is over the period of 6 months of the entire time of the JPOA, January 20 to July 20. So far, as we look at the numbers, we are comfortable that at the moment, those numbers are being kept and that Iran's exports are kept to that range of 1 million to 1.1 million barrels a day. Part of the explanation that you see a discrepancy in some of the public reporting is two major issues. One is that in many of the countries that report their oil purchases from Iran or from any other country, when they say crude oil or oil, they lump together a number of products, and it's not just crude. It's crude plus other things, such as condensates. And condensates were not included in the congressional sanctions for exceptions, and therefore we continue that process of looking at this, breaking this down as what is crude oil. If you isolate out the crude oil, the numbers are quite different. The second is an issue that you raised later, which is the Syria question. And it is true that over the last few months, Iran has begun to direct shipments of crude oil to Syria for the first time. They were done every once in a while before that. That is because Syria's ability to get crude oil on the market and from traders has vanished. And as a result, Iran has had to step in. But that is a very different kind of delivery, because unlike the other 6 customers that they still have, Syria doesn't pay. So this doesn't contribute to the overall economic benefit to Iran, and therefore does not remove the economic pressure that the sanctions sought to bring. So when we look at what is the current levels of exports, we mean people who are buying. Let me let one more point on that that's important to say, that even when they do sell these million to 1.1 million barrels a day to these 6 customers, they are not getting the money and the access to the cash. That money is still going to accounts that are blocked in those countries and have to remain under certain conditions in those countries. So with that, I think that we're still comfortable. We're concerned about some of the reports. We continue to engage vigorously and regularly with every single one of the countries that you mentioned. On Lebanon, you are correct. There's been with the discoveries in offshore Israel and Cyprus, it has become clear that many countries in the region want to take a look at their offshore. And Lebanon clearly has a good potential, and we think that's a good thing. And we are hopeful that Lebanon can reach a point where they can come together as a country, put together a transparent bid round, have international high-standard oil companies come and explore in that region. There is also a dispute on the maritime boundary between Israel and Lebanon. It's an area of about 860 square kilometers. I have been going back and forth to Lebanon and Israel for over a year now. We have shared some ideas for a pathway forward between the 2 countries. It's quite difficult when you have 2 countries that do not have, that are at state of war with each other. And yet we think that there's some progress being made that will allow both countries to independently continue to explore, and in the case of Israel and for Lebanon to begin to explore for natural resources off its coast. It's not going to be easy. It's going to continue to be difficult, but we think that without some kind of mechanism that allows both countries to understand and live within a boundary that they accept, it would be difficult for companies to enter the Lebanese market and explore in an area that would have a political and legal challenge to its products.
And then the last question was on Gulf states and how the energy question has impacted our relationship.
As you and the other members of the subcommittee mentioned, in the Gulf, energy and hydrocarbons are the lifeline of these countries, and they account for significant percentages of their economies, and many of them understand the need to diversify. We follow the relationships between these countries. These are, just like in any place in the world, these are both strong and complex at the same time. And so far, we have not seen that spill over into energy issues. I think there is, even in areas of dispute, in some areas there's cooperation, in others, including in energy. They have mechanisms and ways to talk to each other. We have good and strong relations with all of them. We also have some areas of agreement and some areas of disagreement, as we do with many countries. So I think so far I have not seen any sign that there's any geopolitical change in the region that would lead to a change in energy capacity.
Thank you very much, sir.